As we've seen over the years, anything can happen in college football. Teams can come out of nowhere and surprise us. They also can really let us down and underwhelm us. Each Power 5 conference has a clear favorite entering the 2022 campaign. I thought it'd be fun to take a look at a sleeper in each conference that could potentially shock the country and win their respective conference. But before we get to today's video, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are that you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel. So make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. We'll start in the ACC. As expected, Clemson is the heavy favorite, currently listed at -140. Many people expect them to win the conference and be a playoff contender, which seems like the smart bet. However, as I've mentioned in previous videos, there's a team that I think can give them a serious run for their money. That team is NC State. They're currently listed at +800, the third best odds in the conference behind Clemson and Miami. The Wolfpack went 9-3 last year and returned a lot of talent for 2022. When looking back at their 2021 campaign, they could have easily finished with more than 9 wins. They lost by 1 point on the road to Miami and lost by 3 points on the road to Wake Forest. This was a good team who are likely going to be better this upcoming season. They'll be led by quarterback Devin Leary, who might be a Heisman contender. In 12 games last season, he threw for 3,500 yards with 35 passing touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. Like I mentioned, it's not just Leary who returns, as the Wolfpack return a lot of talent on offense and on defense from last year's squad. When taking a look at the Wolfpack schedule, there's one game that they have circled on October 1st. That's a road matchup at Clemson. That's easily going to be their toughest game of the entire season. If they're somehow able to knock off the Tigers and own that tiebreaker, that should be enough for them to get to the ACC title game. The rest of their conference schedule looks pretty easy. Their next toughest game looks like it's going to be against Wake Forest, but they get them at home. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of tough competition in the ACC, and not every week is going to be a cakewalk, but it looks like their season is most likely going to come down to that Clemson matchup. Now, they could still win the conference if they lose that game, but it's going to be a tough hill to climb. So, if they beat Clemson, I think it's North Carolina State's conference to lose. We'll go to the Big 12 next. Oklahoma is currently the favorite at +200, but this is a really tight race for the favorite. It's tough to call them a sleeper at +600, but they have the 4th best odds in the conference, so we'll go with Oklahoma State. The Cowboys went 12-2 last season and were literally inches away from winning the Big 12 title game. Again, tough to really call them a sleeper after a season like last season, but they're technically being slept on since they have the 4th best odds in the conference behind Oklahoma, Texas, and Baylor. Spencer Sanders returns as their quarterback. He was Fiesta Bowl MVP after the Cowboys' win over Notre Dame. He threw for nearly 3,000 yards in 2021 and added 700 yards on the ground. He's a pretty good quarterback option to have, but the Cowboys' offense took some offseason hits with the draft and the transfer portal. Last season, their defense was one of the best in all of college football, and they're going to have to bank on them once again this year. On defense, they lost a lot of talent, including defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, who left for Ohio State. They lost 6 of their top 8 tacklers. When looking at their schedule, Oklahoma State is really going to have to earn another spot in the Big 12 title game. They got to go on the road to play Oklahoma and Baylor, 2 of arguably the best teams in the entire conference. There are going to be a lot of great matchups this season in the Big 12, as nearly every week is going to consist of a game that will greatly impact the conference. It'll be tough for Oklahoma State to reach the Big 12 title game for the 2nd straight season, but there's a chance they're able to somehow replicate what they did last year. You'd have to at least expect they have to beat Oklahoma, which will be a daunting task to do on the road. Moving over to the Pac-12 now. As expected, USC is the favorite at +140. Oregon is right behind them, followed by Utah. For my original pick, I was going to go with Utah, but I think a lot of people actually think the Utes have a strong chance to win the conference. So for my sleeper, I'm going to go with the team with the 4th best odds at +1200, UCLA. The Bruins season started with such promise last year, but they fell back down to earth in the second half and finished the season 8-4. I think another 8-win season is an easy floor for the Bruins, as this team has the potential to win at least 10 games. The UCLA offense is going to look a lot like last year, as they return quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson and running back Zach Charbonnet. They provide one of the top quarterback-running back duos in not only the conference, but in the country as well. UCLA was one of the top offenses in all of college football last season, and I wouldn't be shocked if they're even better this season. The defense is going to look pretty different, as they lost a lot of talent to the portal and to the draft. but they used the transfer portal to their advantage. The other day, I dropped a video talking about 10 teams that killed it in the transfer portal, with UCLA being one of the teams mentioned. I think their defense is going to be much improved in 2022, though it'll certainly be their weakness. When looking at their schedule, it certainly favors them. They get teams like Utah and USC at home, with their toughest road matchup being at Oregon. It looks like those 3 teams mentioned above are going to be the only teams battling for the conference this season. So if the Bruins can manage to go 2-1 against those teams, that should give them an excellent shot of reaching the conference title game. Obviously, there are going to be some Pac-12 after dark upsets that nobody sees coming, but I think UCLA is in a great position to make a run at their first conference championship since 1998. We'll move to the SEC, where it's really tough to see any team other than Alabama or Georgia winning the conference. Alabama is the current favorite at -115, with Georgia right behind them. But for the purpose of this video, we gotta find a sleeper, and that team is Tennessee. They currently have the 5th best odds and are at plus 5,000. It's amazing how a team with the 4th best odds in the Big 12 is 12-1, but the 5th best odds in the SEC are 50-1. The Volunteers won 7 games last season, but they lost a number of close games. They lost by 1 score to Pittsburgh, lost by 5 to Ole Miss, and lost by a field goal to Purdue. This is a team that can easily build off of last season and win 8 to 9 games. And who knows, maybe they can have an upset thrown there at some point. They had one of the most high-powered offenses in the nation and returned a lot of talent. Quarterback Hendon Hooker honestly might have been the most underrated quarterback in the entire country last season. He completed 68% of his passes for 3,000 yards while throwing for 31 touchdown passes and only 3 interceptions. His number 1 target in Cedric Tillman returns for another year. Last season for Tennessee, he caught 64 passes for over 1,000 yards with 12 touchdowns. The Vols also returned 4 starters on the offensive line, which could definitely give them an advantage this year. The defense will be a big question mark once again, as they're one of the worst in the entire conference last season. Arguably, their 3 best players on defense from last year are gone, so they're going to need to find production someplace else. The Vols did actually do pretty well in getting into the backfield with a program record 102 tackles for loss, but they struggled on 3rd downs and against the pass, allowing opponents to convert more than 42% of 3rd downs, and they allowed them to throw nearly 300 passing yards per game. So with that being said, it's tough to see things getting much worse for Tennessee, so if they can be just slightly better, then that's going to be a huge upgrade for the defense. When looking at their schedule, this is the SEC we're talking about, meaning they could take full advantage of who they play and earn a spot near the top. Or things can crumble and their season can turn into a disaster. Luckily for them, they get Alabama at home, which is going to be their toughest test of the season. With that being said, the Vols have road games at Georgia and LSU. If they could somehow manage to knock off Alabama, maybe that's a confidence booster that Tennessee can ride the rest of the season. Again, Tennessee's most likely not going to be winning the SEC, it's going to be Alabama, with Georgia as a maybe. But like I said, this is a video for sleepers, so that's why we gotta show Tennessee some love. We'll wrap up this video with the Big Ten. This conference has the favorite with the highest odds, as Ohio State comes in at -280. Well, someone has got to beat them, right? I have Nebraska as my sleeper for the Big Ten, as they come in with the 5th best odds at plus 1,800. Nebraska was a strange team last season. As I'm sure you all know, they finished the 2021 season 3-9. However, they essentially could have won every game. All 9 of their losses came by single digits, with 3 losses coming by 5 points or less. They were in every game until the final possession, but they just couldn't ever get that game-winning or game-tying drive when it mattered most. Casey Thompson is an upgrade over Adrian Martinez. The Cornhuskers added a lot of talent via the transfer portal, but this is going to be a brand new looking offense. Hell, last year Nebraska was 2nd in the entire conference in total offense per game. There's a chance that they can improve on that in 2022, but it remains to be seen because of how many new pieces they have. The Huskers are going to have to try and play a lot better on defense in 2022. They came up with just 12 takeaways last season, and they were among the worst in the entire conference in sacks and in 3rd downs. They returned a good amount of talent and had some really good additions via the transfer portal, but this is a defense that really has to turn things around for 2022. Alright, it's time to take a look at their schedule, which is looking very, very favorable for them. Although Oklahoma is a non-conference game, there's a chance that Nebraska can find themselves 7-0 after their 2nd bye week. Hell, there's even a chance they can be 9-0. Their last 3 games of the season are pretty rough, as they got Michigan, Wisconsin, and Iowa, with 2 of those being on the road. I think the biggest game on there is going to be Michigan, as it's going to be tough to go in there and steal a victory. With that being said, it can easily be done. Plus, they avoid Ohio State during the regular season. I think this is a very favorable schedule for Nebraska, and I really think they can make a run in the Big Ten. Then again, I wouldn't be shocked if they finish the season 5-7 while losing every game by an average of only 4 points. Well, those are the 5 teams who I think are sleepers to win their conference in 2022. Will all these teams win it? Absolutely not. Although, that would be pretty remarkable. But don't be surprised if a few of these teams are in contention. Which team do you think has the best chance on this list to win their conference? Or is there a team that I didn't include that should have made the list as a sleeper? Whoever you think that team is, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you love college football, then this is definitely the place for you. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.